Hey guys, Bert Kammerer. Today I'm going to give you a brief comparison of the traditional Goblin helicopter here, such as the Drake, versus the all-new, brand-new Kraken coming out to the market May 2nd. Alright, let's start from the tail. Tail is totally different, even though very close to being the same. Both Goblin tails, of course. Kraken, as you can see here, a little bit more streamlined, a little bit lighter, a lot lighter, I guess you could say, and more simplified. Less parts, to say the least. You can see it's just a much more simpler tail. One of the cool features that I like the most here is that the fin is replaceable very easily by removing 2 bolts with 2 nuts. Replace the fin, put a new fin. You don't have to take the side plate or anything like that. Whereas we have our traditional Goblin tail that we've had for, I don't know, the last 6-7 years. Very functional, works very, very well. A little bit more complex, a few more parts and so forth. Next up, in typical Goblin fashion, we have carbon fiber booms. They look like megaphones. They're really badass, actually. So you got your traditional Goblin boom right here on the Drake, and then you got your boom on the Kraken. Similar shape, a little bit different. I believe the Kraken looks, to me, the Kraken looks a little bit hotter just because of this little ridge right here. Just a little bit updated. But other than that, very similar booms. However, the attachment point between the boom and the frame, and we'll get to the frame here in a minute, is very different. Here with the Drake, you have your traditional boom going into your main plate, what I used to call the mother plate, with 2 nylon bolts, sacrificial nylon bolts. The whole concept is when you crash, the bolts break and the boom survives. Whereas here with the Kraken, you have a totally different attachment point. You have 3 nylon bolts instead of 2. You have this plate here at an angle that connects to the main plate. It's a little bit different. I feel like it's a more modular design. We'll get to the modular part of what I'm trying to get at here in a minute. Tail servo mounts the same way. As you can see, the Kraken has the tail servo back there. Of course, your Drake, same deal with any other Goblin, tail servo back there. The Kraken does have a pretty neat feature in here where it's going to come with some kind of servo extension for the tail, so it's an easy plug and unplug type of thing for the tail servo. You don't have to really feed the wires and through frames the way you used to with the older Goblins. Move on, we arrive at the head right here. Typical Goblin head. This is pretty cool because this is the black matte, matte black. What is it?
Matte black.
Matte black. This is a matte black design from Goblin. It's relatively new, but yet it's the same concept, the same geometry. Pretty durable head. It's really nice design. It's been around for a long time. It's been proven time and time again. No issues here. But then when you look at the Kraken, you have a new head design. Still this nice matte black color and so forth, but it's got some cool features. One of the features I like the best is the blade grip arm. So now when you crash, not only the blade grip arm is made out of a lower grade aluminum. This is 6061 instead of 7075 aluminum. So when you crash, this bends before this bends. But the beauty of this is you don't have to remove the whole head, take the whole head apart to replace your arm. All you got to do is reach into this bolt right here, remove the arm, put a new arm, and you're good to go. So that's a really nice feature here. Another feature is you have different arms that you can try depending on the ratio, the type of flying that you want to do. There's a more precise arm and a more radical, more 3D prone arm. So you can choose what you want. So a lot of cool stuff going on here in the head. You can see the spindle up over the top. Just the overall different design on the rotor head. Moving on to the transmission design. When you go back to the traditional Goblin, the Drake here. This is the main gear, which used to be an upgrade, still is an upgrade for the Drake and for any other Goblin. It's a steel gear with a steel pinion. You have to keep it lubricated all the time. It lasts forever as long as you keep it lubed. Very strong, very resilient to abuse. On the other hand, you have a Kraken, which is transmission, which is an enclosed transmission, and it's technically in some kind of, we don't know if it's an oil bath or if it's a grease bath or whatever it is, but it's an enclosed transmission that's supposed to be super strong, super durable, and supposed to actually go through crashes time and time again. You can see here you have this little plate. This is supposed to be your serial number. As you get a production unit, this will have a serial number. If you remove this plate, you can access a bolt here. I think it's an M4, M5, whatever that is, that allows you to remove the main shaft. So totally different transmission setup here. Last but not least, let me talk about the overall design of the main frame and the main mechanics of the helicopter. Drake here, traditional Goblin helicopter. This is the upgraded carbon fiber landing gear, otherwise it would not look like that, of course. Main plate or mother plate, as you want to call it, with 2 side frames. That's all you got. Very good design in the sense that it's been proven for 7+ years. It works awesome. Frames are relatively inexpensive. These are the G10 frames, which come with a Thunder Sport line of Goblin helicopters, including this Drake or Havoc 3-blade rotor head type helicopter. They all come with these G10 frames, retail for 20 bucks. Awesome setup. It does have some cons, I guess you could say. When you go wire this thing, you got to run, for example, wires for your ESC. They need to run all the way down from the bottom of the frame and up and around on the side of the frame up to your flight controller here. You know, the motor wires, for example, you have to run from the motor on the side of the frame to your ESC. So if you break this side frame, no big deal, but you still have to unplug these wires, put your new frame, plug them back in, reroute them, and so forth. Still, nonetheless, an awesome proven design. You move on to the Kraken. Very different, very different. It's, like I was saying before, very modular. So you have basically these side pieces that kind of look like, it almost looks like it's all part of the same canopy when you see it in the air, but it's not. These pieces are independent, and you have one on each side, and these pieces connect. Basically, take the battery off so you can see it better. These pieces connect your main landing gear to your side frames. And as you can see here, your side frames are really small. They're what, a couple inches in height, right? And that's it. And then you have your main plate here, and that's all you got. It's a very modular, very simple design. If you ever crash this thing really hard, it would be very easy to fix, because you can change this part or change that part or change this part or change this part. It's very compartmentalized, I guess you could say. Another advantage of having this kind of setup is the wiring. As you can see here, there's no going down around the frames and to the front or anything like that. All the wires go all the way from the front to the back to your flight controller. The ESC wires are tucked in very nice and neat here under the ESC tray in itself, and then you got the rest of the wires going through this plastic channel that comes with the kit, and they join the servo wires, and they make all their way all the way back to the flight controller. So everything wiring wise is all right here, so I can see myself crashing and not having to like redo wires time and time again. So it's a really cool feature there as well. So I hope this served as a good overview, trying to explain the main differences between the traditional Goblin design versus the brand new Kraken from SAB. A lot of questions about the Kraken, and I felt like this was kind of important to show you guys what has changed, what's so special about the Kraken. So with this said, I used the Drake simply because it's got the same orange matte color scheme, so it's easy to compare it to the Kraken. It's the latest and greatest Goblin that has been released up until the Kraken, and this thing retails for $828 with $818, sorry, with main blades and tail blades. Well-proven design, works for everybody. Whereas the Kraken is going to launch again May 2nd for $1,096, also with main blades and tail blades. But again, it's just a matter of what do you prefer. Do you want the well-proven 7-year-old design that has worked time and time again, looks really awesome, like the Drake or like the Thunder Sport or like any of the traditional Goblin designs for the $800 range? Or you want to go with the latest and greatest, called the Kraken, for $1,096. Your choice.